Arthur C. Golden
Okay.
from Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
Oh, I see.
And I joined the Marine Corps on September 1st, 1948,
Wow.
10 days before my 18th birthday. And went through boot camp at Parris Island, South Carolina. From there, I was transferred to Camp Del Mar in California, where I went through radio school. And after that, I was stationed in Camp Pendleton for a while and went back down to Camp Del Mar, stayed there till the Korean War broke out, and they transferred me up to 4.2 Motor Company up in Camp Pendleton. So when we left, I didn't know anybody in the company. I just had been in there about 10 days, I guess, when we shipped out. And we worked about 24 hours a day loading the ships in San Diego, going back and forth from Pendleton, working day and night to load up. We headed out on July 15th from San Diego, and had an overloaded ship. One that dug out from World War II, I believe, and used it. And the first thing it did was blow a turbine and shut us down. We had to limp into San Francisco, and get repairs. That took about a day and a half or so. And the other convoy had already gone, so we went across by ourselves. And it was a jam-packed deal, and we hit bad weather. A lot of people got seasick, and the ship was a mess from everybody throwing up. Luckily, I didn't get sick, so I kept eating and kept going. But then we got into Pusan, I think on August 4th or August 5th of 1950. And we were met at the dock by a band playing I think they were playing the national anthem or something when we got there. And at that time, the North Koreans were right on the outskirts of Pusan. So I think we trucked out to the outskirts and set up our perimeter around the northern part of Pusan. And kind of scary, 19 years old, and you didn't know what the hell was going on.
Yeah.
Next morning, we were into it. The shooting started. The rifle company that dug in right next to us, there was a sergeant who was the squad leader there. And I got to talking with him while we were digging our foxholes and everything. Next morning, I see him bringing his body back on a stretcher.
Wow.
He'd taken a shot right in the middle of the head. And I said, man, and his thing was, his eyes were still open when he went by. One thing I'll never forget, him laying on that stretcher with a hole in the middle of his head, with his blue eyes staring up in the sky, So that was a baptism of fire to get started. So.
Wow.
And then from there on, we did pretty good knocking the North Koreans back. They had beaten our army down pretty bad over there. And we were the first group to go over. We went over the 1st Marine Brigade because we didn't have a full division after the cutbacks after World War II. We were kind of short-handed in people, so we formed what they called a fire brigade. They sent us over to kind of push things back and take care of things till they could get the 1st Division to come over. So we did good. We knocked the North Koreans back real good. Had them running wild, and they were leaving all their equipment behind, and we would get in their motorcycles and stuff. And it was going real good. It was hot, it was really hot. Getting water was a problem, but we kept going, just kept doing one thing after another. It was take one hill and get through that one and take another hill. That's the way it kept going all the way through that deal. And then in September, when they decided to do the Incheon landing, they pulled us back into Mason, where we regrouped. And then we sailed out of Pusan again around to Incheon. Made the Incheon landing on September 15th of 1950. And we went in and we took Seoul again. And it took us about 5 days to take Seoul, as well as I remember. We were kind of set up on the outskirts where we could see down the railroad to the railroad station. And that's where they were trying to get out and to head north. So we just kept bombing the railroad station, trying to get as many as we could. And after taking Seoul, I don't think we went much further. We pulled back again, went around to Wonsan on the east coast. And went in, luckily ROKs had gone in and from behind they were watching us thinking we were going to land in Wonsan. All we did was run back and forth up and down with the ships going back and forth. So the ROKs came in behind them and took Wonsan. Fortunately, we didn't have to go in and fight that way. Thing was, Bob Hope and his group got in there before we did. They head up to North Korea, which, well, of course, in our opinion now, we shouldn't have gone up there. We went over really to stop communism from coming into South Korea, which we did. We got them back. We pushed them back up to the 38th parallel. So that should have been all we needed to do. But General MacArthur wanted to be big dog, go up and try to take the whole country. He figured he would be the commander of everything if he could take North Korea. And of course, his thinking was China wouldn't get into it. He was supposed to be an expert on, because he was married to a Chinese. So he was supposed to be an expert on all China deals. He'd been over there since World War II. But he was wrong, dead wrong, which made a lot of our people dead. Mm-hmm. But anyhow, the fight up there was bad. It was cold, anywhere from 35 to 50 below zero. Couldn't even put much oil on the rifles. The oil would freeze on the rifles if you put too much on them. So, but we just got surrounded. I don't know why or how, if the reconnaissance wasn't good or what happened, but all of a sudden we had 120,000 of them looking at us, and like one of our generals said, well, we know where they are, we don't have to look for them. But we had to fight our way back down to Hung Nam, which was a struggle. They had one road up and one road back was the only way to get up there and get back. And they were really good fighters. They could fight all night and disappear during the day. You couldn't find them. They had these white deals. They would get down in the snow with these white covers, and you couldn't find them anywhere. And then at night they'd come out again. So it made the struggle pretty bad. We took a pretty big beating as far as personnel were concerned. But we made our way back to Hung Nam, luckily, and wiped out more of them than they did of us. But of course, they had a lot more of us. But we didn't have to do much to get more of them. But then we moved back and regrouped in Maison. Took a little R&R back there. Got to drink a few beers and get rest and get some decent food. The push started again in January and February, and we were pushing back north again, doing real good. And about April 1st, they started sending some of us back to the States, and I luckily got on one of the first groups to go back. So I was only over there about 8 months, but it was a rude awakening, I'll tell you. But
wow.
Something I'll never forget for sure.
Yeah, yeah. When did you leave Korea?
Around April the 1st, I think it was, in 1951.
Did you also work with Korean soldiers?
Yeah, they worked with us a lot. First we used them for communication with their groups and everything. Because none of us spoke Korean, so we had to communicate with them back and forth. And we always had a guy with us that spoke Korean, would talk to their groups, and they worked with us a good bit. Them, and then we also had the guys from England, what do they call them, the British Brigade or something like that. Yeah, one of the guys is here.
Oh yeah, I heard.
Yeah, he comes every 2 years. He shows up.
Yeah.
He's a real nice guy, but he was over there with us. His bunch. They took a pretty bad beating too. But
I see.
anyhow, how we got through without getting hit, I'll never know. And I'll tell you, they bombed us with mortars and artillery and everything, right and left. And one night we were dug in. It was raining, and 3 of us, we had these little pup tents we put up, and 3 of us were in a little 2-man deal, and the shells were coming in, and one of them hit right in front of our tent. It just made a splat sound. Mud splattered all over us. It was a dud. And we got up the next morning, we could see the tail end of it sticking up out of the ground. It didn't explode. It wasn't no more from here from the wall from us. If it would had it gone off, it probably would have knocked us back pretty good if it didn't kill us.
Yeah. Wow. What would you say was like your most difficult time you had in Korea? Would you be able to point to one event?
No, not anything in one thing in particular. Just that, just fighting in that cold weather, which we never were used to. And I'd come from the south like I did. We never saw snow hardly.
Yeah.
And to get it when it's up to your hips, trying to fight through it, and it's that kind of a tough deal. And that's something that was hard to overcome, really. In fact, one night we were attached to a rifle company, and we were supposed to get our sleeping bags sent up to us. They were going to relieve us that night, but the relief didn't come, and they didn't get our sleeping bags to us. So we were out there with nothing to cover up with, and all night, Sergeant Weaver, this guy, he and I walked back and forth. I'd try to sleep a little bit, and he'd walk, and he'd wake me up, and I'd walk. We walked all night, and we could hear those guys in that rifle company all moaning. They had frostbite. They were, people hurting and they're killing them. And the next day, the rifle company wanted to send out a squad to reconnoiter around the area, see if we could find anybody out there. Well, we went out, and I mean, the snow was just hip deep. And my legs, after a while, just gave out. And when we started back, I said, look, y'all go ahead, I'm just gonna sit down. I just laid back in the snow. If the goops had been out there, you know, I would have had it, because I just couldn't go anymore.
Yeah.
So, but that was one of the things that I remember too. Luckily, there was no North Koreans around in that area at that time, or Chinese.
Right. Can you tell me about this photo? So we have this photo here.
That's when we were back in Mason after we pulled back from the Chosin Reservoir. We were back there for a little rest and rehabilitation, and we gone into town somewhere. We were drinking beer, and I don't know where the guy came from to take our picture, but he just got us all together and took it. And I still have the original at home.
Oh.
But I've never seen any of these guys since I got out of service.
I see.
I had that picture published in the Korean War Veterans magazine about 2 or 3 years back, and I never got any response from any of them. So either they're all dead, or else they didn't belong to the Korean War deal. So just don't know. A lot of people didn't join anything when they got out.
I see.
I belonged to the American Legion, the Korean War Veterans, the Chosen Few. And I belonged to all those organizations. I get magazines from all of them and run across some people. I remember their names. I see them in there once in a while, but none of these guys. The only guy I can recall running into was a corpsman by the name of Conrad Pope. I saw he passed away about a year or so ago. Saw an obit in the paper on him. He patched me up one night when we were coming down from the Chosin deal, and we were riding in the back of a truck and slid off the embankment, turned over, and in the back of it was a load of 4.2 mortar ammunition, and it just covered, buried us. I couldn't move, and they had to come dig me out. All I got out of it was a cut under my arm, and he took the shirt off of me and patched it up. You know, went off. That's the only wound I got.
Oh, I see. Oh, on your left arm?
Yeah, under my left arm.
You know how people say Korean War is the forgotten war? What do you think about that? How do you feel?
In the States, it was pretty much forgotten. It's not even in our history books, I don't think. And I went back to Korea in 2010. My wife and I went over on a revisit Korea tour, and the Korean government paid for everything. Once we got there, we had to pay our way over there. But they sure haven't forgotten.
Right. Was that a good experience visiting?
Very good, yeah. They welcomed us. They thanked us for saving their country and everything. And I couldn't believe how it had gone when we were there. I don't even remember any paved roads when we were there in 50, nor any nice buildings. Of course, Seoul had some, but they were all bombed out. We spent the night in Ewha University's dorms. Oh, they were busted out too. It was raining, so we camped in there for a night. So, but yeah, the people over there were real nice to us. I think I spent $1 the whole time we were there.
Wow.
I bought a book of advice so I could have a my highball at night.
What do you think this Korean War means to you in your life? What kind of impact did it have?
Well, it sure let me know how things can change from in a country that it's all torn up in war. We'd read things about World War II and how things were devastated from the bombings, and we hit the same thing in Korea. Everything was when we got there. The North Koreans had just about bombed and torn up everything that was worthwhile having, and there was just nothing left. And when we went back, I said, "Man, alive! I can't believe a country can just rebound from that much." I mean, it's like New York City over there now. High rises, condos, and the two young ladies we had for our guides that spoke English well. They told us how living was with them. It was expensive. One of them, she and her brother lived in the condo together to kind of share expenses. And they said I think they still have to go into service when they get out of high school, I believe is what she told us. So that was something we ought to do in the States, which we're not doing.
Yeah.
But we went up to the DMZ and we could stare the North Koreans eye to eye. They were right there, walking back and forth with their rifles. And one of the guys told us that that's what they do. As soon as we bring tour groups, they come outside parading with their weapons out there. And said you can see them up in that building. You can watch up there. You see the binoculars. They're watching us. And they told us we couldn't wear any blue jeans and couldn't wear certain types of shoes and didn't want to make some kind of impression on them. And our South Korean guys were standing there just, with a pistol on their hip and not paying any attention to what was going on.
Would you support it if the two Koreas were to be reunified? And what do you think we need to do to make that happen?
You'll never sell anti-communism to North Korea, I don't think. Not as long as they got the guys running it now, and then apparently it's going to be passed down in the family forever and ever, I guess, over there. But from what they tell me, the people are starving to death over there. The only people who are doing any good are the ones in the military, and that's how they survive over there. I don't know, but and anybody crosses them, they just kill them. Kind of a bad situation. I don't know if they would ever get together. And I found out there is still some communistic deals going on in South Korea. They're not totally sold on the democratic process either. And then too, the tunnels that the North Koreans have dug under the DMZ. I don't know how many of them they have, but I'd say they could get into Seoul probably in 45 minutes with a pretty good sized army. And I don't know if South Korea is that fortified that much better now or not. I know they're better trained now than they were when we went over, because their army wasn't very well trained at all. In fact, when things would get bad, some of them would just go home.
Right. Yeah.
But anyhow, the North and South Korea, I don't see it ever getting together, really. I wish it could, but I read a book that was written by a North Korean pilot. He defected to the South. He flew his MiG-15 into Seoul, into Kimpo Airfield. He had trained, his family came up, his dad worked for the Japanese government when Japan controlled North Korea. And he grew up as a kid and he went to a military school. And they said they could go on the trains anywhere they wanted to because his dad worked for the railroad. And they would go up to Chosin during the summer to be cool and everything. But his dad always told him, said, don't buy into this communistic situation. Said, if you ever get a chance to get out of here, go to the States. And he kept that in his mind all the time. And when he got in the military, the only way he would ever be able to get out is if he got into the Air Force. So he was really a smart guy. He knew all kind of technical stuff on planes and things. So he got into the Air Force, and of course he was flying the little training planes and all that stuff. And finally he got into flying the jets. And he was talking about how they got along. They had the Russians that come in and working with them, and they had the North Korean pilots. They had the Russian pilots, and it was just a mixture of people. And he said how nasty the Russians were. Said they were crummy, real crummy people. And they treated everybody real bad and everything. And so he said, he kept on going. He got into flying the MiGs, and he would try to dodge if they had to go out on their sorties. He would try to get up in the clouds where they didn't see him do anything. He'd fire his guns every once in a while and let them know that he was shooting at people. And he never got, their jets could get higher than ours could. We had our F-18s, didn't get the altitude that the MiG-15s could. So he could always get up above them and stay out of the way. And finally, kept on going, and finally he decided one day he was going to have to make a move. And it was in 1953. He decided he'd go south with his MiG, and they went out on a formation, and he finally just peeled off.
What unit were you with again?
4.2 Mortars and 5th Marine Regiment. Of course, we've all the 1st Marine Division. That's the only one we had.
Yeah.
And, I got back to the States in April. So I had a 30-day leave deal. Met a young lady that I finally married before I got discharged. So after I got back, they sent me to Jacksonville Naval Air Station. I stayed there for several months and did a lot of nothing there, just piddling around, and living on the beach and having fun. And I made sergeant while I was there. And after I left there, they sent me up to Camp Lejeune in North Carolina. And I stayed there until I was discharged as a staff sergeant. And I married, and we lived in Wilmington, which was about 50 miles from the base. I commuted back and forth with 3 other guys who would carpool to go back and forth from the base to Wilmington every day. And my wife got a job at the port commission there. The guy that we rented a room from him. He was the head of the port deal, and he got her a job. So we had a couple of incomes come in and did pretty good.
This was in Wilmington?
Yeah.
Okay. What state is this?
North Carolina.
I see. And when were you discharged?
When?
Yeah.
August 1st in '52.
Oh, I see. Oh. When did you first find out about this Chosin Few group?
Went to a reunion for the 1st Marine Brigade. We went over, when I went to Korea, we went over to the 1st Marine Brigade before the division came over. And we were at a reunion in, I think in Reno. And I was talking to a guy there. He had been, he was in the Chosin Few. And he asked me if I had been in the Chosin. I said, yeah. He said, do you belong to the unit? I said, no, I didn't even know they had a Chosin Few organization. So he said, I'll send you some papers and let you know. So he did, and when I got back home, he sent me the application to join, and I sent it in. And because we didn't have a local chapter in Louisiana, so I just belonged to the national group. And in New Orleans in Louisiana had a chapter there, and I kind of met with them a few times, but then it folded up too, so I just stayed chosen as a national member.
Yeah, that's great. What was your date of birth again?
September the 10th, 1930.
Wow. Your birthday's coming up.
Coming up pretty soon.
Yeah.
I'll be 86.
Wow.
My wife and I have been married, well, next May we'll be married 65 years.
Wow. Is she here?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Congratulations.
We don't travel separately.